The waiting line stretched across half a solar system, ships of every shape and size floated in perfect formation, each one more beautiful than the last. The Threxian vessel looked like a flower, made of crystal and gold. The Pavnathi ship gleamed with purple light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The Shard Collective had sent a vessel that looked like a floating cathedral made entirely of singing glass. This was the line for the Galactic Council Summit of Peace. It happened once every 100 years. Every major species in the galaxy sent their most beautiful diplomatic ships to attend. It was the most important peaceful gathering in known space. Security Director Zix Athera watched the monitors from her command station. She had 6 arms, each one working a different control panel. Her species, the Velcrin, had been running council security for 3 centuries. Nothing surprised her anymore, or so she thought. Director, her assistant called out, "We have a new ship entering the queue." "Identify it," Zix Thera said. Without looking up, ships had been arriving all week. It's transmitting human credentials. That made Zix Thera look up. The humans were new to the galactic community. They had only made first contact 15 years ago. This was their first time being invited to the summit. The council wanted to see if they were ready to join civilized space. "Good," Zika said. "What does their diplomatic vessel like?" Her assistant's skin turned pale blue. That was a fear response. "Director, it's not a diplomatic vessel. It's a warship, a big one." Every alarm in Zix Thera's head went off at once. She pulled up the scan on her main screen. Her blood went cold. The ship was massive. It was 3 times the size of any diplomatic vessel in the queue. Its hull was dark gray, covered in armor plating. Weapon ports lined its sides like teeth in a shark's mouth. Rail cannons, missile batteries, energy weapons she couldn't even identify. The name was printed on the side in bold white letters, UHSV Indomitable. "Get me the council chair now," Zix Thera said. Within minutes, her screen filled with faces. Council members from dozens of species appeared, all talking at once. Chair Morsh, a being of pure energy, wearing diplomatic robes, called for silence. "What is the meaning of this?" Mesha's voice boomed. "Why is there a human warship in the diplomatic queue?" "I don't know," Zixera admitted, "but it gets worse. I'm reading their power signatures. Weapons are hot, reactors at 70%. That ship is ready for combat." Screen exploded with panic. The Pavnathi ambassador started screeching. The Threxian representative demanded military escorts. Even the archivist's floating brains in jars bubbled with concern. "This is an act of war," someone shouted. "The humans are showing their true nature," another voice cried. Chair Morsh raised glowing hands for silence. "Has the vessel made any threatening moves?" Zix Thera checked her sensors. "No, they're just waiting in line." They transmitted diplomatic credentials and took their place in the queue. "They're following all protocols perfectly." "Hail them," Mordesh commanded. "I want to know what they think they're doing." Sixth opened a channel. "Human vessel Indomitable, this is Galactic Council Security. Please state your intentions." There was a brief pause. Then a human woman's voice came through, sounding almost bored. "This is UHSV Indomitable Captain Samantha Rodriguez commanding. We're here for the summit. Filed our credentials 3 months ago, just waiting our turn like everyone else." Calm response somehow made it worse. Zixathara looked at Mesh, who looked as confused as energy beings could look. Captain Rodriguez, Mesh said, you are aware this is a peace summit? Yes. Sir, and you brought a warship? Yes. Sir, is there a problem? Half the council members started talking at once. Again. Sixth had to mute several of them. We will discuss this internally. Mordesh said carefully, please stand by. The channel closed immediately. The council erupted into argument. They're planning an attack. Pavnathi ambassador insisted, why else? Bring a warship, perhaps it's a cultural thing, suggested one of the archivists. We should research human customs before. There's no custom that explains bringing weapons of war to a peace conference. The Threxian representative interrupted. Sixa pulled up everything council intelligence had on the humans. The file was smaller than she expected, but deeply concerning. Humans had ended their first interstellar war in 3 months. 3 months. Most wars lasted decades. They treated gravity like a suggestion. Their ships could pull maneuvers that would turn most species into paste. The Indomitable had its own file. It had survived something called the Battle of Proxima Rift, where it held off an entire enemy fleet alone. For 6 hours against impossible odds, the ship should have been destroyed in the first 10 minutes. Instead, it was still here, floating in the diplomatic queue. Like this was normal. Captain Rodriguez's file was even more interesting. 42 years old, 20 years of military service, decorated for bravery 16 times. Not a single mark on her record for aggression or disobeying orders. Everyone who served under her was loyal to the point of fanaticism. Enemy species respected her even while fighting her. The file also noted that she had never lost a crew member unnecessarily. Every military action she took was calculated to minimize casualties on both sides. She was known for accepting enemy surrenders instantly and treating prisoners well. That didn't match with someone planning an attack, but it also didn't explain why she'd bring a warship to a peace summit. Director, her assistant said quietly, the other ships in the queue are repositioning. Sixth pulled up the tactical display. Her assistant was right. Every ship within 500 km of the Indomitable was slowly moving away. The Threxian vessel had activated its shields. The Quillian ship was pre-spinning its faster-than-light drives, ready to run at the first sign of trouble. The humans just floated there, waiting patiently. We need to make a decision, Mordesh said. We either let them in or we don't. What does intelligence say, Zik? Sathara pulled up her report. The humans are confusing. They're extremely good at war, frighteningly good, but they don't start wars, they end them. Usually fast. Every conflict they've been in was either defensive or to protect civilian populations, so they're not conquerors. Someone asked, I don't think so, but they're definitely warriors, and right now they have a warrior ship at our peaceful gathering. The Pavnathi ambassador made an angry sound. I refuse to attend a summit with that ship present. My people still remember what human weapons did to our fleet. Your fleet attacked a human colony, the archivist noted calmly. The historical record is clear. That's not the point. The point is they brought overwhelming force to a diplomatic event. Mesh dimmed with thought. Perhaps that is exactly the point. Perhaps they're sending a message, but what message? Nobody had an answer. The council had dealt with Aggressive species before, they had protocols for threats and ultimatums. But the humans weren't threatening anyone, they weren't demanding anything. They were just there waiting politely, with enough firepower to level a planet. Run a deep scan of their ship, moored. Ordered, I want to know everything, crew. Compliment weapon status, what they ate. For breakfast, everything Zix Thera. Hesitated, that's technically a violation of diplomatic protocols. If they detect it, do it anyway. I need to know if we're in danger. The deep scan took 3 minutes. The results made Zix the Thera's 6 heart skip beats, crew of 800, she read aloud. All at their station, 300 are combat marines. Weapons are powered but not targeted. Shields are at standby, point defense. Systems are active, reactors can go to full power in 90 seconds, they're ready for a fight, someone whispered, but they're not starting one, Sixthra added. This is a defensive posture, not an aggressive one, they're ready to respond to threats, not create them. What's the difference? The Pavnathi ambassador demanded. Sixth looked at the ship on her screen. It hung in space like a sleeping predator, beautiful in its own terrifying way. The difference, she said slowly, is that aggressive ships hunt. Defensive ships wait. That ship is waiting, but for what? Mesh asked. Nobody answered. The human warship just floated there in the diplomatic queue, patient and deadly like a sword at a wedding, present but not drawn, ready but not striking, and that somehow was the most frightening thing of all. The Council Intelligence Division worked through the night. Their assignment was simple but terrifying: figure out what the humans were planning. Chief Analyst Creon had never been so stressed in his long life. He was an Emthydonian, a species known for calm, logical thinking, but there was nothing calm about the data in front of him. Show me everything we have on human military operations, he told his team. The files appeared on screens all around him. There weren't many. Humans had only been in space for 15 years, but every single military action was documented. Disturbing detail. The first file was the Kessler Station incident, a mining station on the human frontier. Pavnathi had claimed it was in their territory and attacked without warning. 3 human civilians died in the first strike. The human response was fast and brutal. 2 human destroyers arrived. Within hours, the Pavnathi fleet was 10 times their size. The battle should have lasted days. It lasted 47 minutes. The human ships moved like nothing Creon had ever seen. They used the gravity of nearby planets like slingshots. They fired weapons while doing turns that should have killed everyone on board. They targeted the Pavnathi command ship, first cutting off communications. Then they destroyed engines, not reactors. They disabled ships instead of destroying them. When the Pavnathi admiral tried to surrender, the humans accepted immediately. They even provided medical aid to the damaged Pavnathi vessels. Efficient, Creon muttered. Frighteningly efficient. The next file was worse. The Battle of Proxima Rift. The Krell invasion fleet had tried to conquer a cluster of human colonies. 200 Krell warships against 12 human vessels. The humans knew they couldn't win, so they didn't try to. Instead, they evacuated the civilians. The indomitable Captain Rodriguez's ship stayed behind alone. Its job was simple: by time, hold off 200 warships long enough for the evacuation to finish. Military analysts said it was impossible. The Indomitable should have been destroyed in minutes, Captain. Rodriguez had other ideas. She used the asteroid field. She used debris from destroyed ships. She sent fake signals to confuse enemy sensors. She made the Krello think there were more human ships than there really were. For 6 hours she made 200 warships chase shadows while the real ship kept moving, kept fighting, kept surviving. By the time the Krell figured out the trick, the civilians were safe. The Indomitable was damaged, but still fighting. When human reinforcements arrived, the Krell retreated. They'd lost 30 ships trying to catch one vessel. Captain Rodriguez was offered medals. She turned them down. She said she was just doing her job. Ciarven pulled up more files. The pattern was clear. Humans didn't start wars, but when wars came to them, they ended them fast. They fought smart, not just hard. They valued their own lives and even enemy lives. But they absolutely refused to lose. What are we dealing with? One of Kray's assistants asked. A species that understands war too well, Krelly. They don't fight for glory or territory. They fight to protect what's theirs, and they're very, very good at it. So what do they want at the summit? That was the question that kept Creon up at night. He pulled up the communication logs. The humans had filed their diplomatic credentials exactly as instructed. They'd followed every rule. They'd been nothing but polite, but they'd sent a warship. Craven opened the file on Ambassador Lyra Chen. She was the human diplomatic representative. 73 years old, she'd been a university professor before becoming an ambassador. Her specialty was conflict resolution. Her record showed successful negotiations in 17 different disputes. She had a reputation for being kind but firm. The file also noted that she never negotiated from weakness. She always made sure her side had options, power, leverage, and right now her leverage was the Indomitable. They're not here to attack, Creon said suddenly. They're here to make a point. What point? That they can't be ignored, that they can't be pushed around, that if they're joining the galactic community, they're joining as equals. His assistant looked doubtful. That's a very aggressive way to make that point. Maybe Cian said, or maybe that's just how humans think. He pulled up a human cultural file. It was thin. Most of it was guesswork and observations from brief contacts, but one section caught his eye. It was about human history. Humans had spent their entire existence fighting each other. Wars on their home planet were constant. They developed weapons that could destroy their whole world several times over. They'd come close to using them, but they hadn't. Instead, they'd learned something. The file called it peace through strength. The idea was simple. If everyone had weapons, everyone would be too afraid to fight, make war so terrible that nobody wants it. It had almost destroyed them, but eventually it worked when humans finally united and went to space. They brought that philosophy with them. They make weapons to prevent war, Creon said slowly. They show strength to avoid having to use it. That's insane, his assistant said. That's human, Craven corrected. Back at the council station, the tension was rising. More ships were arriving for the summit. Each one noticed the human warship in the queue. Each one sent panicked messages to council security. Zixatha was fielding complaints from 24 species. The Quillian Harmony wanted the humans removed. The Methodians suggested quarantine protocols. The Shard Collective was debating whether to leave entirely. Only one species wasn't complaining: the archivists, the floating brains who studied everything, were fascinated. "This is remarkable," their spokesperson said. "We're witnessing a first contact moment, not of bodies but of philosophy. This isn't helpful." Six snapped. She was tired and stressed. "Isn't it?" the archivist replied. "Consider, we invited the humans to send their finest vessel. They sent a warship. What does that tell us? That they're planning something, or that to them a warship is their finest achievement. Think about what that means. We build beautiful diplomatic vessels to show our commitment to peace. They build powerful warships for the same reason." Zixthera stopped. "That was an interesting thought. You're saying they see that ship as a peace offering?" "I'm saying they might see it as their greatest accomplishment, and perhaps it is. Look at its record. How many lives has that vessel saved? How many colonies has it defended? How many wars has it ended?" Zixtha pulled up the indomitable service history: 17 major engagements, 0 civilian casualties on the human side, minimal casualties on enemy sides, 3 humanitarian missions, 1 first contact gone wrong that the indomitable diffused without firing a shot. It's a guardian ship, the archivist continued. "They didn't send a predator to our summit, they sent a protector with enough weapons to level planet." Zix pointed out. "Yes, because to them protection and power are the same thing. You can't protect what you can't defend. You can't defend without power." Zixa considered this. It made a strange kind of sense. Humans had evolved on a dangerous world. They'd fought for everything they had. Of course, they'd think protection required strength, but that didn't make the other species feel safer. "Sir," one of her assistants interrupted, "we're getting more readings from the indomitable." "What kind of readings?" "Nothing threatening, it's just they're running normal ship operations. The crew is eating meals, sleeping in shifts. Someone's playing music in one of the rec rooms. They're acting like this is completely normal." Sixth pulled up the internal scans. Her assistant was right. The humans were just living, going about their daily routines. One officer was doing a crossword puzzle. Another was working out in the gym. Captain Rodriguez was in her quarters reading a book. They weren't preparing for battle. They were waiting patiently, like they had all the time in the world. "They really don't think they're doing anything wrong?" Zixthera said with wonder. "No," the archivist agreed. "To them this is normal, expected even. They were invited to a summit. They sent what they consider their best representative. That it happens to be a warship is irrelevant to them." Chair Morsh appeared on Zix's screen. "Report." Zix took a breath. "I don't think they're here to attack. I think this is a cultural misunderstanding, a big one." "Explain." She shared Creon's files and the archivist's theory. Morsh listened in silence. "So you're saying they think bringing a warship is appropriate?" Morsh asked. "I'm saying they might not see it as a warship. They might see it as their greatest achievement, their finest vessel, which is exactly what we asked for." Morsh dimmed with thought. "Then we need to talk to them, really talk to them, not security protocols, not formal hails. We need to understand what they think they're doing here. And if we don't like the answer, then," Mesh said grimly, "we'll have to decide if we're ready to tell species with that ship that they're not welcome in our community." Nobody wanted to be the one to deliver that message. 8 hours had passed since the Indomitable arrived. The council had debated, argued, and analyzed. Now it was time for action. Chair Mesh floated in the center of the council chamber. Around them, holographic representatives of every major species watched with nervous attention. This broadcast would go out on all channels. Every ship in the queue would see it. The whole galaxy would hear what happened next. Open a channel to the human vessel. Mesh commanded. All frequencies. I want everyone to witness this. The screen lit up. Captain Rodriguez appeared, still in her dress uniform. She looked calm, almost relaxed. That somehow made me Mesh more nervous. Captain Rodriguez, Mesh began, their energy field pulsing with authority. We have deliberated on your presence here. Your choice to bring a warship to this summit of peace is unprecedented. It is unwelcome. It violates the spirit of this gathering. Rodriguez raised one eyebrow slightly. Does it violate any actual rules? The question caught Mordish off guard. What? The rules, the regulations you sent us. Did we break any of them? Zixthera quickly checked the diplomatic protocols. She hated to admit it, but no, the humans had followed every rule perfectly. They'd filed the right paperwork, used the right codes, waited in the right place. That's not the point, Mesh said. The point is with respect, sir. I think that is the point. Rodriguez interrupted. Her voice was polite but firm. You invited us. We accepted. We followed your protocols. If there was something else you wanted, you should have specified it. The Pavnathi ambassador couldn't contain himself any longer. You brought a warship to a peace summit. How is that appropriate? Rodriguez turned to look at the Pavnathi. Her expression didn't change, but something cold entered her eyes. Ambassador, the last time we met, your fleet fired on a civilian mining station without warning, without provocation. 3 of my people died, including a 6-year-old girl. The Pavnath's feathers flattened. That was a mistake, a local commander, a mistake. Rodriguez said flatly. I see. So when your species makes mistakes, they're understandable, but when my species takes reasonable precautions, we are the threat. Interesting. Double standard. That's not what I... Captain Rodriguez, Mesh interrupted, trying to regain control. Let us focus. You are in a ship built for war. This is a gathering built for peace. Surely you can see the contradiction. For the first time, Rodriguez looked genuinely confused. No, sir, I honestly don't see a contradiction. Silence fell across the channel. Every species waited to hear what the human would say next. Rodriguez looked off-screen for a moment, as if checking with someone. Then she sighed. Okay, I think we need to have a different conversation. Let me bring in Ambassador Chen. She's better at explaining things than I am. The screen split. An elderly human woman appeared next to Rodriguez. She was small, with white hair and wrinkles around her eyes. She looked like someone's kind grandmother. She wore formal diplomatic robes that seemed too big for her. Chair Morse, she said with a warm smile. Council members, thank you for your patience. I believe we have a cultural misunderstanding here. May I ask a question? Mesh was thrown off balance by her gentle tone. Of course, when you sent the invitation, you said to send our finest vessel. What did you mean by that? Our finest diplomatic vessel, Morse clarified. A ship that represents peaceful intentions. I see, Chen said. And what does such a ship look like? The Threxian representative spoke up. Beautiful, ornate, lightly armed or not. Armed at all. A ship that shows trust in the peaceful nature of the gathering. Chen nodded slowly. So a ship that represents hope, trust, the belief that everyone here wants peace. Exactly. Several council members said together. That's lovely, Chen said sincerely. It really is, and I can see how our choice confused you, but you see, humans define finest vessel differently. Captain Rodriguez, would you like to explain? Rodriguez cleared her throat. The Indomitable is our finest vessel. Because of what it represents, this ship has saved 4 million lives. It's evacuated colonies during disasters, delivered medical supplies through war zones, protected civilian ships from pirates, and yes, fought when necessary, but always to protect innocents. This ship, Chen added softly, is the embodiment of humanity's greatest strength, not the weapons, not the armor, the commitment to protect those who cannot protect themselves, the willingness to stand between danger and innocence. The Quillian ambassador made a confused sound, but it's still a weapon. Yes, Chen agreed. It is because protection requires power. You cannot defend what you cannot fight for. You cannot keep peace if you cannot enforce peace. So you're admitting you came here to threaten us? The Pavneth ambassador demanded. No, Rodriguez said sharply. We came here to show you who we are. This ship represents human values. We value peace, but we also value the strength to maintain that peace. We don't separate the two concepts. They're connected. Chen leaned forward slightly. Let me tell you a story. 300 years ago on Earth, humanity built weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We came very close to using them. Everyone was afraid. Everyone had weapons. Everyone thought that would keep them safe. And did it? The archivist asked, genuinely interested. Eventually, Chen said, after we almost destroyed ourselves, we learned something important. Peace doesn't come from weakness. It doesn't come from hoping everyone will be nice. It comes from everyone being strong enough that war becomes pointless. That's a violent philosophy. Mesh said quietly. Is it? Chen asked. Or is it realistic? Look at your own history. Chair, how many species joined the council after being conquered? How many joined because they were weak and needed protection? And how many joined because they were strong enough to be respected? Mesh didn't answer. They didn't need to. Everyone knew the answer. Chen continued. The Indomitable is here because she represents everything humanity has learned about peace. We tried peace through weakness. We tried peace through isolation. We tried peace through surrender. None of it worked. What worked was being strong enough that others thought twice about fighting us, and kind enough that others wanted to work with us instead. You're saying might makes right, someone accused. No, Rodriguez cut in. I'm saying might makes possible. The Indomitable has the power to destroy entire fleets. We've proven that, but we use that power to protect, not conquer. To defend, not attack. The ship isn't here to threaten you. It's here to show you that humanity chooses peace even when we have the power to choose war. The council chamber erupted. Half the members were outraged. The other half were thoughtful. Morsh called for order. This is still highly unusual. Mesh said, you must understand our concerns. Many species here have been victims of aggressive warships. They see your vessel and they fear. Chen's face softened with sympathy. I understand. Fear is reasonable, But let me ask you this: in the 15 years since humanity joined the galactic community, have we started any wars? Zixa checked the records. No. Have we conquered any territory? No. Have we broken any treaties or violated any agreements? No. Zixa admitted. Spread her hands, then judge us by our actions, not by your fears. Yes, we brought a warship, but we've been invited to 12 conflicts as mercenaries or allies. Do you know how many we accepted? 3, Creon said from his analysis station. He'd been listening carefully. Only 3, all cases involving the defense of civilian populations. Correct, Chen said. We turned down 9 highly profitable war contracts because we didn't agree with the cause. We only fight for protection, for justice, for the right reasons. How convenient that you get to decide what the right reasons are, the Pavnathi ambassador said bitterly. Rodriguez's jaw tightened. You're right. It is convenient. It's also honest. We make no secret of our values. We don't hide what we are. That ship outside your station, that's us. Powerful, yes. Dangerous, absolutely, but aimed at protecting, not destroying, unless someone threatens you, Mesh pointed out. Unless someone threatens innocence. Rodriguez corrected. There's a difference. We don't fight for ourselves. We fight for those who can't fight for themselves, Chen added. Quietly, the Indomitable has one rule that every crew member knows by heart. It's painted in the main corridor. Would you like to know what it says? The council waited. Peace is not the absence of power. It is the choice not to use it. The words hung in the air. Nobody spoke for a long moment. Finally, one of the archivists broke the silence. Fascinating. You've built a philosophy where strength and peace are not opposites but partners, where the capacity for violence becomes the guarantee of peace. Exactly, Chen said, looking relieved that someone understood. It's still frightening, Mesh admitted. You're essentially saying you could conquer us all if you wanted to. Could we? Rodriguez asked. Maybe. Not, but we don't want to. That's the point. We have the power. We choose peace. Every single day we make that choice, and we're supposed to trust that. You'll keep making that choice? Quillian ambassador asked. Yes, Chen said simply, because trust is what peace requires. You're asking us to trust that you won't attack us. We're asking the same of you. The difference is we brought our sword to the table so you can see it, so you know exactly what you're getting with humanity. No surprises, no hidden weapons. This is who we are. Mesh's energy field flickered. The council went into private session. No cameras, no recordings, just the core members trying to make sense of what they just heard. They're either brilliant or insane, the Threxian representative said. I can't decide which. Perhaps both. The archivist suggested. Human history shows a species that survived by being clever and aggressive in equal measure. Zixther pulled up more data on her screens. She'd been digging deeper into human culture while the conversation happened. What she found was disturbing and enlightening at the same time. Look at this, she said, sharing the files. Human art, their stories there. Entertainment images filled the screens. Humans in armor protecting others. Humans fighting monsters. Humans standing between danger and innocence. Over and over the same theme. Their heroes aren't conquerors, Zixa explained. They're protectors. Warriors, yes, but warriors who fight for others. Look at these old Earth stories. Knights protecting villages. Soldiers defending homes, superheroes. Saving cities, the pattern is clear so. They've been raised on stories of noble warriors, Mesh said. That explains the philosophy, but not why they brought a warship here. Kree spoke up from his analysis station. Actually it does, if their entire culture celebrates protective warriors, then their finest military vessel would be the ultimate symbol of that ideal. To them the indomitable isn't a weapon, it's a guardian, a protector, the physical embodiment of their highest values. The Pavnathi ambassador made an angry sound. That's just words. That ship can still destroy planets, but it doesn't, the archivist pointed out. That's what they're trying to tell us. The power exists, the choice not to use it is what matters. I still don't trust them, the Pavnathi said. Nobody's asking you to trust them yet, Mesh replied. We're asking if we understand them, and I'm starting to think we didn't. Not at all. Another file popped up on Zix's the screen. Here's something interesting. Human negotiations. I've been reviewing every diplomatic interaction they've had. There's a pattern. She showed the data. In every negotiation, humans came prepared. They brought information. They brought options. They brought power, but they also listened. They compromised. When it made sense, they gave ground on small things to gain ground on big things. They're good negotiators, the Quillian ambassador admitted grudgingly. Better than we expected for such a young species, because they separate power from action. Creven explained. Look at this case, the Mthodian trade dispute. Humans had legal grounds to seize Mthodian cargo ships. They had the military power to do it, but they didn't. Instead, they negotiated. They found a solution that benefited both sides. They had the power but chose not to use it, Mesh said slowly. Exactly, that's their whole philosophy. Have the power, choose not to use it. Make that choice visible so everyone knows it's a choice, not weakness. Sixatha pulled up another file. Here's a report from the Shard Collective. They did an analysis of human military doctrine. The conclusion was unexpected. She read aloud. Human forces are trained to de-escalate whenever possible. Use of lethal force is a last resort, not a first option. Crew members are evaluated not just on combat performance but on decisions made under pressure. Officers who solve problems without violence are promoted faster than those who use force unnecessarily. They train their warriors to avoid war. The Archavist said with wonder. That's remarkable. That's contradictory, the Pavnathi ambassador insisted. Is it? Mesh asked. Or is it the natural conclusion of a species that understands war too well? A communication request came through. It was Ambassador Chen asking to speak with the council again. Mesh accepted. Chen appeared on screen, still looking like a kind grandmother. Chair Morsh, council members, thank you for your time. I know this is confusing. I wonder if I might help by sharing something personal. Please, Mesh said. Chen settled into her chair. I'm 73 years old. I was born during what we call the Unification Wars, the last major conflicts on Earth before we went to space. I was 6 years old when my city was attacked. I remember hiding in a basement while buildings exploded above us. She paused, her eyes distant with memory. A soldier found us. I was terrified. He was in full armor, carrying weapons bigger than I was. I thought he was going to kill us. Instead, he picked me up, wrapped me in his jacket, and carried me to safety. He Got shot doing it, took 3 bullets. Meant for me, nobody interrupted. His name was Marcus Chen. He became my father, adopted me after my birth. Parents died in the attack. He taught me something important. He said power isn't about what you can destroy, it's about what you can protect, he said. The purpose of being strong is so others don't have to be afraid. Chen's voice grew stronger. That's what the indomitable represents. That's what every human warship represents. Yes, we built them to fight, but we built them so fewer people would have to fight, so civilians could sleep safely, so children could grow up without fear. Your father sounds like a good man, Mesh said quietly. He was and he wasn't unique. That's what I'm trying to explain. Human military culture is built around protection. Our warriors are taught that their purpose is to make war unnecessary, to be so strong that others choose peace, to be so capable that others don't have to be. Rodriguez appeared on screen next to Chen. My crew knows that we carry enough firepower to destroy fleets. They also know that using that firepower is failure, not success. Our mission isn't to fight. It's to make fighting unnecessary. When the indomitable enters a system, pirates run, slavers hide, aggressive species think twice, not because we attack them, but because they know we could. Deterrence, Creon said. Your entire military philosophy is based on deterrence. Exactly, Rodriguez confirmed. We'd rather be feared and never fight than be underestimated and have to prove ourselves. Every battle we fight is a failure of deterrence. We prefer to win without fighting. Archivist bubbled with excitement. This is consistent with ancient Earth philosophy. I'm accessing human historical texts. A strategist named Sun Tzu wrote, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. You've built a military culture around this principle. We've tried everything else, Chen said sadly. Pacifism, appeasement, isolation, none of it worked when facing true aggression. Only thing that worked was being strong enough that aggressors chose to leave us alone, not because they loved us, but because they feared the cost of fighting us. And you brought that philosophy here, Morsh said, to our peaceful summit. Yes, Chen confirmed, because you need to understand who humans are. We're not a species that makes empty promises. When we say we want peace, we mean it. But we're also not a species that will be victims. We'll defend ourselves and our allies with everything we have. Rodriguez added, the indomitable is here because she's the truth about humanity. We're powerful, we're capable of terrible destruction, but we choose every day to be builders instead of destroyers, protectors instead of predator. The ship shows you both sides of that coin. Some species will see that as a threat, the Quillian ambassador said. Yes, Chen agreed, they will. And honestly, if a species sees the indomitable and thinks I'd better not attack humans, then the ship has done its job. But if a species sees the indomitable and thinks humanity would be a good ally, that's even better. You want us to fear you and respect you at the same time, the Pavnathi ambassador said. No, Rodriguez corrected. We want you to respect us because you understand what we're capable of, but also understand that we won't use it against you unless you give us no choice. Fear fades, understanding lasts. Mesh was silent for a long time. Then they asked the question everyone was thinking. What happens if we say no? If we decide the indomitable cannot attend the summit, Chen and Rodriguez exchanged glances. Rodriguez answered, "First, then we'll leave peacefully. File a formal complaint request. Clarification on exactly what rules we broke. Push for more specific protocols. Next time we won't make a scene. We won't threaten anyone. We'll just go." And then Mesh pressed. Chen took over. "And then humanity will have to decide what your rejection means. Are we not civilized enough for you? Not peaceful enough? Not the right kind of species? We'll have to evaluate what council membership means and whether we want to be part of a community that rejects us for being honest about what we are." "You'd leave the council?" Zixa asked. Shocked, "We'd consider our options," Chen said carefully. "We want to be part of the galactic community, but not at the cost of pretending to be something we're not. If the council requires members to hide their strength to pretend they're harmless to fit a specific mold of what peace looks like, that's not a community we can be honest members of." Rodriguez leaned forward. "Here's what I think you need to understand. Humanity has enemies, species that would love to conquer human space, take human resources, enslave human populations. The only reason they don't is because of ships like the Indomitable. If we hide our military, if we pretend to be weak, if we send pretty diplomatic vessels with no teeth, those enemies will see that as an invitation, and then there will be war," Chen concluded. "Real war. Not threats, not deterrence, actual fighting," which is exactly what Eva. The vote was scheduled for Dawn Station time. Every council member would cast their decision, allow the Indomitable to attend the summit or reject the human presence. Zixthara hadn't slept. She'd spent the night reviewing everything: human history, human culture, human military actions. The picture that emerged was complicated. Humans were warriors, that was undeniable, but they were warriors who valued peace, soldiers who hoped never to fight, people who built terrible weapons and then did everything possible not to use them. It didn't make sense by any traditional logic, but it made sense if you understood where humans came from. Director, her assistant called. "The voting is about to begin." Sixth made her way to the council chamber. It was full. Every species had sent representatives, even those not officially on the council wanted to witness this moment. Chair Morsh floated at the center. Their energy field was calm now. Decided. "We have debated," Morsh began. "We have analyzed. We have spoken with the humans at length. Now we must choose. Do we accept humanity as they are with their warship and their philosophy, or do we reject them and ask them to return when they are ready to meet our expectations?" "I want to speak before the vote," the archivist requested. Mesh nodded. "Permission." The floating brain pulsed. "With thought, I have studied 3,000 species over my lifetime. I have watched civilizations rise and fall. I have seen every variation of military philosophy, diplomatic approach, and cultural value. The humans are unique, but not in the way we first thought." The archivist displayed data. Every peaceful species in this council reached peace through one of three paths. First path, evolution beyond violence, species that naturally grew past the need for conflict. Second path, exhaustion, species that fought until they had nothing left and chose peace from weakness. Third path, protection, species that were conquered or protected by others and adopted peace as a condition of survival. Images of various Species and their histories filled the screens. Humans are attempting a fourth path: peace through deterrence, peace through strength. They are trying to maintain peace not by ending their capacity for violence, but by perfecting it to the point where violence becomes unnecessary. That's insane, the Pavnathi ambassador muttered. Perhaps the archivist agreed, but it's also honest. They're not pretending to be something they're showing us exactly what they are and asking us to accept it. Creon stood. I've completed my analysis. The humans are correct about one thing: their military actions have been defensive or protective. Every war they fought was against aggressors. Every battle they've won was followed by fair terms. They're warriors, yes, but they're not conquerors. The Shard Collective spoke next, their crystalline forms chiming in harmony. We calculate low probability of human aggression, high probability of human alliance. Value: species shows strong loyalty to friends, strong retaliation against enemies. Pattern suggests valuable but demanding ally. Mesh looked around the chamber. Others wished to speak. The Quillian ambassador rose slowly. I came here prepared to vote no. Indomitable frightens me. Human military capacity frightens me, but I've been thinking about Ambassador Chen's words about being honest. The humans could have sent a small diplomatic ship. They could have hidden their military capacity. They could have pretended to be harmless until we trusted them. The Quillian paused. They didn't. They showed us their sword. They let us see exactly what they're capable of. That's either foolish or honest. I'm starting to think it's honest. They could still use that sword against us. The Pavnathi ambassador argued. They could. The Quillian agreed, but so could we. Every species here has weapons, military forces, the capacity for violence. We just hide it behind pretty words and diplomatic vessels. Maybe the humans are right. Maybe it's better to be honest about what we are. Zixthira stepped forward. I've been security director for 40 years. I've seen every type of threat: aggressive species, deceptive species, species that smile while preparing to stab you in the back. She looked at the display showing the indomitable. The humans aren't that. They're something else. Something we don't have a category for. They're dangerous but not aggressive, powerful but not expansionist, capable of war but preferring peace. That doesn't mean we should trust them, someone objected. No. Sixth agreed, but it means we should work with them, because a species like that, either they're going to be our greatest ally or our worst enemy, and I'd rather make sure they're the first. Mesh dimmed with thought. The Pavnathi ambassador has not spoken. You have strong feelings about the humans. The Pavnathi was quiet for a long moment. His feathers were flat against his body. Yes, strong feelings. My people died at Kessler Station. Human weapons killed them. I will never forget that. So you vote no? Morsh asked. I, the Pavnathi, struggled. I want to, but I've been reviewing the battle records. Our fleet fired first. Our admiral refused to communicate. Our ships wouldn't surrender until half our force was destroyed. The humans could have killed everyone. They chose not to. He looked up at Mesh. I hate that I'm saying this, but the humans fought fairly. They gave us chances to surrender. They provided medical aid afterward. They didn't execute our admiral when they could have. By the rules of war, they were honorable. So you vote yes. I vote acceptance, not trust, not friendship. but acceptance that this is who humans are, and we must deal with that reality. Mesh's energy field brightened. Then, let us vote, all in favor of accepting human participation in the summit with the Indomitable as their representative vessel. Hands raised, lights flashed. Votes were counted. The result was close, but it was clear. The vote passes. Mesh announced, humanity is accepted. The Indomitable will be permitted to attend the summit. Sixth, opened a channel to the human ship. Captain Rodriguez appeared on screen. Captain Rodriguez, Ambassador Chen, the Council has voted. You have permission to dock and attend the summit. Welcome to the galactic community. Rodriguez's stern face broke into a smile. It was the first time any of them had seen her smile. She looked younger, more human. Thank you, Chair. We won't disappoint. You see that you don't, Mesh said, but there was warmth in the words. And, Captain, next time perhaps include an explanation with your credentials. It would save everyone a lot of stress. Rodriguez laughed. Understood, we'll add a note. This is a warship. That's okay. Here's why. That would be helpful, Mesh said dryly. The channel closed across the Council station. Species watched as the Indomitable moved from the waiting queue to the diplomatic docking ring. It looked wrong there among the beautiful, delicate diplomatic vessels, like a wolf among sheep, but as it docked, something changed in how people looked at it. It wasn't a predator, it was a guard dog. Powerful and dangerous, yes, but aimed outward, protecting, not threatening. Other ships began docking. The summit would proceed, but everyone knew something had changed. The galaxy had just accepted a new type of species into the community, a species that brought swords to peace talks, a species that saw no contradiction between strength and peace. Over the next week, the summit proceeded. Rodriguez and Chen attended every session. The humans listened more than they spoke. They asked questions. They proposed solutions. They worked with other species instead of demanding their way. And every night the delegates returned to their ships. They passed by the Indomitable on the way. Some still felt fear when they saw it. Others felt curiosity, but slowly a new feeling emerged. Safety. There were dangerous species in the galaxy, pirates, raiders, aggressive empires waiting for chances to expand. Having the Indomitable at the summit meant those threats thought twice about attacking. The warship was a deterrent not just for humans but for everyone. On the final day, a crisis emerged. A distress call from a nearby system. Pirates were attacking a civilian convoy, 3 ships full of refugees. The Council debated sending a response. It would take hours to organize. The refugees might be dead by then. Rodriguez stood. The Indomitable can be there in 20 minutes. The room went quiet. This was the test, the moment when humans would show their true nature. Would they help? Would they demand payment? Would they use this as leverage for political gain? Go, Mesh said simply. Save them. Rodriguez nodded and left the chamber. 10 minutes later, the Indomitable undocked. Its engines flared. It jumped to faster than light speed. 23 minutes later, Rodriguez's voice came over the comm. Pirates have fled. Refugees are secure. No casualties. Indomitable returning to station. No demands. No request for payment. No political conditions. Just the job done quickly and efficiently. When the Indomitable docked again, something had changed in how the other species looked at it. Fear was gone. In Its place was something like respect, maybe even gratitude, at the closing ceremony. Mesh addressed everyone. This summit has taught us many things, but perhaps the most important is this. Peace has many forms. Some species maintain peace through kindness, others through isolation, others through careful diplomacy, and some, like humanity, maintain peace through strength. Mesh looked at Rodriguez and Chen. We are learning that there is no single path to peace. Every species must find their own way. The humans have found theirs.